Here we are at the week 11 intervention. So these are ratio problems dealing with fractions. And when we set these up, the idea is we want to have a proportion. A proportion is two equal ratios set up as one. Think of it as an equation. So it's the ratio A to B equals the ratio C to D, for example. On the problem we're doing now, we are trying to figure out how much gas it takes to mow an entire lawn if we know that 1/3 of a gallon of gas will mow 2/5 of a lawn. So we know that the ratios we're working with are gas to lawn. The ratio we're given to start with, and this threw off some people when they first saw it because it's a fraction made up of fractions, 1/3 to 2/5. 1/3 of a gallon of gas to mow 2/5 of a lawn is equal to, and here's the question, how many gallons of gas? That's the X, that's the unknown. Since gas is on top right there, how many gallons of gas to mow the entire lawn? That's one. Entire means one lawn. Here is the answer to part A. This is the proportion you would use to solve part A. Part B, how many gallons of gas does it take to mow the entire lawn? So now we're simply solving this. So we do the cross multiplication. We do 2/5 times X. 2/5 times X is equal to 1/3 times 1. 1/3 times 1, which means that we have 2/5 X is equal to 1/3. We divide everything by 2/5. Divide by 2/5. Now, one thing that we talked about being able to do with this, let me grab a calculator out here. One thing we talked about being able to do is use a calculator on this. So I'm going to pause right now. Now that we've got it to this step, let's take those two values and put them into decimal form. 1/3 as a decimal is 0.3 with a line over it. We're going to get a little more accuracy if I round that to one place and make it 0.34. I accepted a range of answers on this because as soon as you start using 1/3, which is an irrational number, it's a decimal that repeats, or it's a repeating decimal, not irrational, but it's a repeating decimal, you start losing a little bit of accuracy. So I'm going to use 0.34. And for 2/5, 2 divided by 5, that's 4/10, that's 0.4. So now I'm going to convert this. I've got 2/5 divided by 2/5, 1/3. This is my big one right here. And so my answer is going to be X is equal to the 0.34, the 0.34, divided by the 0.4, 0.85. It will take 85 hundredths of a gallon of gas to mow the entire lawn. So 0.85 gallons, not even a full gallon of gas to mow the entire lawn. And that makes sense because 1/3 mowed 2/5, 1/3 mowed just a little less than a half. So you can figure that it's not going to take a full gallon to mow the whole thing. All right, so that's your work. That's your answer right there. Why don't you pause if you need to rework the problem at the bottom, and then flip to it, and we'll discuss it as well. All right, here we are in problem number 2. So Matt's mowing the lawn again. Matt's a busy young guy. Mowing another lawn. I'll leave my calculator down in the corner here. 3/4 of a gallon to mow 1/3 of a lawn. So once again, that first ratio, or both ratios actually, are based on gas to lawn. We know that 3/4 of a gallon will mow 1/3 of a lawn. We should already be looking at this and saying, wow, it's going to take more than a gallon of gas because it took 3/4 just to mow 1/3. It's going to take 3 groups of that to mow the whole thing. In fact, that's the second way we'll solve the problem this time. The second ratio, how many gallons of gas, that's the X, that's the unknown, to mow the entire lawn, one lawn. There you go. So there is your ratio. There's your answer to part 1. Your proportion, excuse me, I said ratio. There's your proportion answer to part 1. Now we need to solve that. So let's do this time, let's solve this 2 different ways. The first thing we'll do is we'll convert our fractions into decimals. Remember the last problem I said I prefer to put 1/3 as 0.34 instead of 0.3 with the line. The further you go out, the more accurate you get. So we'll solve it this way. 0.75 over 0.34 equals x over 1. When we cross multiply that, we get 0.34x equals 0.75. Our coefficient is the 0.34. That's what we have to divide everything by, so we get this big 1. And when I divide 0.75 divided by 0.34, I get, man, look at that, 2.2058. We're going to go 2.2. We'll go 2.21. We'll go out to the hundredths place. 2.21. Now, remember I said there was a second way of solving that? You might have looked at this and said, well, that's 1/3 of a lawn. What's 3/4 3 times? Because every third takes 3/4 of a gallon, so what's 3 groups of that? That becomes 2.25. So you'll notice again, we have answers that are slightly different. This is 2.121 gallons, and this is 2.25 gallons. All of that happens, and I would accept either one of those. All of that happens because we have to round that 1/3. The most accurate way to do it would be to leave it as a fraction. If we left everything as fractions, this is the answer we would get right here. But since we talked about doing this with calculators, I would accept this answer as well. All right, so you have all the stuff you need. Just a quick review. Here is the answer to part A. Write a proportion that you could use. There's the answer to part A. And then part B is solving that. So you're all prepared now. Review this, and then let me know when you're ready to take the 11-1 intervention test.